All right, you guys, it is time for my 4-month update. My 4-month update, as a reminder, if you are new here, hi, my name is Kylie. I am the owner of Painting Pine Collective, and I am a 4-year high volume liquidation live seller on Whatnot who turned to static selling at the beginning of 2026. We had 3 Whatnot channels, and at the end of 2025, it just was not for me anymore. And it was time for me to move forward into a direction that gave me purpose. And static selling, thrifting has always been, the thrifting side has always been the love of my life. So why not start static selling? But the question is, was leaving live selling a mistake? And here I am to tell you my feedback after 4 months of doing static selling. First and foremost, the biggest question I always get is, why in the heck did you leave live selling when it is the holy grail? I will tell you right now, I left live selling due to the pure exhaustion, the low profit per item, constant need to be on in order to earn an income, the volume game. Obviously, Whatnot is a huge volume game. And that's what made me realize I needed something different. The topic of always having to be on to earn an income is extremely stressful. From the standpoint of, again, 3 Whatnot channels, 4 to 6 hour shows, 5 to 7 days a week was a lot. That took up family time. That took up, all the your own personal self-care time, all of that. So a lot of people are like, yeah, but if you had a real job, you'd also be working 40 hours a week. Well, let me clue you in. Live selling, especially if you are a solo seller, is not a 40-hour-a-week job some days. The sourcing, the prepping, the packing, the prepping for the shows, the processing, all of that. I mean, there is a lot of time that goes into your show structure. So again, coming from high volume liquidation, it was truckloads of inventory we were getting in at a time, primarily Target, Amazon, Walmart, just kind of depended what was available. Anything from general merchandise to clothing to health and beauty. It was a lot. It was a lot. And after 4 years of doing it and really taking a look at where I was at the stage of either my reselling career or my wants or my needs as a mother and a wife, just wasn't for me anymore. So when I started really digging into static selling, right, I said, if I'm going to get out of liquidation and live selling, full time, what am I going to do? And I am still, let me clue you in, I am still a full-time reseller. I am just not a full-time live seller. So what I thought static selling would give me and provide is more freedom to be able to spend time with my family, better margins, more intentional inventory versus just buying truckloads, and more time for sourcing and being able to create content and all of those type of things. But here's what it actually turned into for me. Static selling has its own challenges, just like live selling does. Listings take time. Photos have to be way better. Titles and descriptions matter. That was a hard point for me to learn, because if you are part of my OG crew during live selling, I did flash sales, what that flash sale shows, what that was you guys hanging out with me in my living room. I never showed you physically a product, and we shopped pictures and descriptions. But keywords, style aesthetics, all of those things, and how you show up in searches, big learning curve for me. Cross-listing matters. I thank God Nifty is a thing. I would not be able to do what I do without Nifty, and you all are going to laugh at me, because here I am when I first started this and started diving into it at the end of 2025 into 2026. One of the first things I said to my husband was, there is no way I am going to be able to cross post to all of these platforms. I'm going to just have to pick 2 and just go from there. That's how I was when I started reselling 15 years ago from my basement and just doing it as a fun little to do. I posted to Macari. That's what I did. It was just Macari. So learning about all the different avenues and how to keep it streamlined and how to keep it organized. Luckily I came across I think it was a Facebook reel or something that was talking about a cross poster. And I was like, oh my God, that would solve my problems. So immediately, and this was before I posted one thing, I went in and I did a deep dive through Nifty, Flip. There was another one, Crosslister or something like that. I went through and researched them all. Ultimately, I landed on Nifty, and I am telling you what, if you are not utilizing Nifty right now, I cannot say enough amazing things about it. I would not be able to do what I do without my right-hand man, Nifty, and little Mr. Auto in the system. So one of the things was when I first started, one of the challenges I had was I had over 1,200 items in my Whatnot bin. And what that is your Whatnot storefront, basically. So because I was running one of my show styles was just a flash sale show, all my inventory went into my Whatnot bin so people could shop it at any time, or specifically when I had those flash sale shows, I was able to have stuff. I don't know why I just stuttered on that. So that was my big negative is, okay, I'm going to have to pull inventory out of Whatnot and then cross post it to the other platforms. Now, here's another thing, talking about photos. In Whatnot, it is highly used. Now remember, you guys, I am a four-year veteran of this platform. And before the huge influx over the last year, 18 months of thrifting and pre-love people coming in, Whatnot was flooded with liquidation. So how we structured postings, listings, that sort of thing is completely different than the thrifting reseller side. So all of my items basically in my shop were all stock photos because that's how we did it. That's how you promote it. That's how you got your manifest from, Target or whatever, and it had item numbers. You were able to pull that in. You were able to throw up, listing information quickly. So it's different because on the thrifting side, you need actual photos. So I knew right away this was going to be a huge challenge for me to flip over or go through all of my 1,200 items and take physical photos. Now, even if I utilized a stock photo or an AI photo or whatever, I always now, today, add physical product or physical photos of the products, right? Well, not on Whatnot. That's not how we ran it. So that was a huge undertaking. So I did have a little bit of a panic set in of going, how in the heck am I going to get all of these 1,200 posts or 1,200, listings over from Whatnot onto the platforms? So when I initially started cross-posting, I just said, forget about it. Everything staying in Whatnot is staying in Whatnot. That's my liquidation life. I'm going to start my static selling life completely revamped and completely fresh of my pre-loved items. But then, fun fact, Nifty partnered up with Whatnot within, I think it was like 45 days, 60 days of me starting with Nifty, and voila. Now, still, same challenge was presented of going, okay, but you still need physical products. So beginning of 2026, I was pushing hard to get all of my liquidation life gone as best as I can. So I was still doing Whatnot shows up until regularly, at least 2 times a week, up until about May, June. Then I went down to 1 day a week, and then the month of July, I went down to no days a week. I took the month of July off to really reevaluate what I wanted to do. So there's that little tidbit. But again, photos matter, titles and descriptions matter, and cross-posting matters. One of the things that I have to learn, and I'm still learning, is static selling requires patience. What do you not have when you are a live seller? Is patience. You are to sell as much as you can in your time of what you want to do. We had hours goals, and then we also had numbers per hour and per show time. So I'm still learning this. And naturally, by nature, I am a late diagnosed ADD. So late diagnosed ADHD, ADD kind of gal. So something like Whatnot, highly addictive, right? Boom, you're turning and burning, you're moving through stuff, you're selling stuff. Doesn't matter if it's truckload, doesn't matter if it's pallet, you're just moving and grooving, right? Sales happen, addictive for the buyer, addictive for the seller, and static selling. Um, got one. It is completely different. So you have to learn items can sit to find that right buyer versus being a live seller where you're making it entertaining to buy, or you're making it and marketing it differently so they have free shipping for their whole show. Once they buy one item, they only pay $9.21, what it used to be, or whatever the heck it is now, and then they have free shipping the rest of the show. It's completely different. That is a whole nother topic we are going to dive into, which I know you guys aren't going to love, but I'm going to dive into it anyway. Not on today's little tidbit, but we're going to go into overconsumption. But okay, back to things that actually static selling actually turned out to be. Items can sit. Kylie, learn your patience, girl. Learn your patience. You have to learn pricing. You have to learn how to comp items, look at sell-through rate, all of those type of things. Now, mind you, I'm good on comps. I know how to look that up. I could care less about sell-through rate. And that might be a negative on me as a reseller. Everybody might go, oh, she doesn't care about no, I don't care about sell-through rate. What sell-through rate kind of means to me at this stage of the game could be dependent on your photos and could be dependent on your title listings. You guys, I don't care. I don't look at sell-through rate. I don't care. I don't care. I don't have the type of inventory availability to me to care about sell-through rate. I don't have BOLO brands that necessarily I come across monthly, even, let alone weekly. So I look for the reasons why to grab something. I come up with, is it unique? You know, is it something that is going to make somebody stop the scroll? Is it, you know, a size that's hard to find? I'm huge on that. I love shopping big and tall for the guys, and I love shopping plus size for women. Also, when it comes to shoes, I like looking at the hard to find sizes. I'm a size 10 to an 11 in a size shoe, and I'm going to tell you right now, I hate shopping. I hate shoe shopping because I can't ever find anything I like. So those are type of things that I look for. So you have to really learn the pricing. Just because you think it has value doesn't mean necessarily your buyer is going to think it has value. So you do have to kind of learn all of that. Not every item are you going to make, you know, a $50 profit. You might make $10, but is it profit? Heck yeah. And is it a lot more profit than you're making potentially live selling? Oh yeah. So you have to learn pricing. And you have to, again, coming up to this point, you have to be comfortable with waiting, you guys. You just do. And that is hard. Recovering high volume live seller, that is hard. That's all I got. So I went from having the biggest mindset shift, and some days I still have to recheck myself, and that is okay. You know, I'm still learning, I'm still growing. But I went from how many things can I sell in a day? Now, mind you, it was every show a minimum of 480 items. If you didn't sell 480 items, you weren't getting off. Okay, so 480 items. I had to make that mindset shift to how much profit can I make out of each listing? And that is a point that you guys, I struggle with. Because when you're live selling, your profit can be this. Yeah, you might. I had a Disney baby show one day, all character, one night, I should say. And I sold one jean cutesy little dress for $55. Had Minnie Mouse on it. Now, was it adorable? Absolutely. That sold for $55. Okay. But that's the adrenaline rush. That is the adrenaline rush. Did I make profit on that item? Yeah, But did I make profit overall on all the items I'm selling? No, not much, because again, that just evened out your average sale price of everything you sold that show. So again, little bit different mindset here. So I will talk through, I'm going to throw some stats up. Total sales in 4 months, number of orders, average sale price, average profit, number of active listings, which I'm still a baby. Okay. I don't even have 1,200 yet. I'm closer to 1,000, but I'm not as close as I want to be. I want to have a minimum of 12 to 1,500 items listed at all times. What platforms perform the best, what categories sold the best, and what completely flopped. So we're going to go through each of those. Now, again, remind you, I am brand new. I started most of my closets, or I started Poshmark, eBay, Depop, and started a Peony and Pine Macari this year, 2026. Okay. Started fresh. So total year to date, and this is as of today, year to date for the last 4 months, my total revenue was $15,971.51. My total profit was $11,570. Okay. That's when you look at those numbers like that, that sounds like a lot. Now, mind you, again, working on Whatnot, high volume, low profit, those numbers were weekly and monthly, but our profit was a heck of a lot different. So my let's see here. My best-selling platform, 232 items sold on Poshmark. I'm looking at my Nifty. This is why I love Nifty, because all of your stuff is in here. So I'm just looking at my Nifty thing here. So 232 items sold on Poshmark. Next up is going to be eBay, which is 150 items sold. Then after that is Depop, which Depop, to be completely honest with you, it's 59 items on Depop. But Depop has just really started lighting up for me the last 3 weeks. I've been on Depop cross-posting just as I have since I started at the beginning of the year. But I haven't really had a lot of sales until the last 3 weeks, and now it's like on fire. So I'm excited to see what Depop does by the end of the year. And then Macari, 42 items sold, which is hilarious to me because I feel like I never sell anything on Macari. Now, my top selling is Whatnot at 430 items sold, but as a reminder, that's just out of my Whatnot bin. That is not any of my live auction. That is just out of my Whatnot bin. So again, as a reminder, either it was flash sale shows or it was flash sales during a live show auction. So that's what I know. My top selling categories: dresses, tops, jeans, coats, and women's handbags. My top selling brand, get ready for this, American Eagle. Isn't that crazy? My top selling brand is American Eagle. Now, that's a difficult one for me because a lot of people think that, mall brand, that sort of thing, but whether it's vintage Y2K kind of style American Eagle or in today's kind of style and aesthetics of American Eagle, it still always has been kind of my top brand. So that's where I'm at. But let me give you this also. Total units sold 913. So I'm very excited to creep up on that 1,000 items sold static selling, just from the standpoint, it's not because I get instant payout like my Whatnot friends. It's just because that is a huge number of items that have been left for the landfill that I have gotten to save. So 1,000 is very exciting for me to come up on top of. So, all right, now let's talk through some of where my strategy is switching going forward. So I look at my averages by sale price. So my average by sale price on eBay is 25. Poshmark is 24, so pretty comparable. Depop 22, so not bad. Then I slide down to Whatnot. Now remind you, my flash sales again, 430 items sold. My average sale price was $6.47 on Whatnot. Okay, there's that. Highest profit is eBay. And then right on top of each other is Macari, Depop, and Poshmark. Days listed, my average is, let's see here, eBay is at 37 days for days listed, Poshmark 38 days, Depop 42. Again, Depop hasn't done much for me. Not much for me except lately. So I'm excited to see that. So that is kind of where I'm at. Oh, this just pulled up. Let me do this. Let me do a little fix in here. So going back through some of these numbers here, $15,000 in sales, net profit 11. And that is one of the things that I love about Nifty. If you are not utilizing Nifty and you're using spreadsheets and all of that, I'm going to tell you how good this is. Their analytics section, you've got orders, expenses, insights, and then profit and loss on there. So I went into insights where I just gave you all of that deep dive detail. And then in profits and loss, again, it shows your revenue, if you had any refunds, what those are. Also, we'll bring up your cost of goods, which breaks it down into cost of goods, your orders, sourcing, transportation, shipping supplies, standard fees, shipping fees, and shipping expenses. Then it breaks it down again into another section, which is your operating costs, any advertising and promotions, equipment and vehicles, meals and entertainment, furniture, office supplies, and other expense, promoted fees, and other expenses. So again, this is like your whole brain in a couple of clicks of a button. So when you're utilizing Nifty, you can immediately put in your cost of goods on every single listing, okay, which is a lifesaver. Your profit of what it's showing you is taking out, if you do coupons, if you do gift cards for giveaways and whatnot, you can log all of that information. Also, it's taking out any of the transaction fees that you get on, your commissions, your 20%, your all of those things, your shipping. This is a no-brainer. This honestly isn't, a Nifty advertisement, but Lord have mercy. If you're not utilizing it, you have to. And if you're only posting to one area, get it together. Get it together, my friends, and cross post. You have no clue how many items have sold on platforms that I'm like, I would have thought it would have sold over here. Why do I think that? I don't know, because you're always trying to figure out some logic, right, to everything that we do. So anyway, cross post, my friends. So I guess, that's that. I really thought where I'm at today, I really thought clothing was going to be my forever category just because it's easily accessible. You guys, I might not look dressed up or anything like that, but that, that's because I'm home and comfy. I'm just doing my thing. I'm doing my thing because I can. But I love clothing, okay? I love style. I love, unique pieces. I love clothing. But I started finding things, and I'm starting to really love things too, when we were doing Whatnot, it was a general merchandise. So you had kitchen appliances and accessories, you had decor, you had bedding, clothing, you had it all, health and beauty, all of those things. So yes, clothing will always be part of my forever life, but I really, really have started enjoying finding, vintage treasures, teapots. Don't ask me why I love teapots. I don't drink tea. Okay? I don't drink tea unless it's iced tea. That's it. I'm a coffee connoisseur, not a tea drinker, but I love them dang teapots. God darn it. Anything with elephants, I love that. I love anything with history and a character to it. I just love it. I've been like that my whole life. My very first house I bought was built in the 40s, and it still had the crystal doorknobs, and I wanted to keep, I couldn't change it. It's just the little things that give an item or something a story. I don't know. I just love it. Okay. So I'm starting to get into some things. But also, not only am I learning the static selling side just on clothing alone, I'm learning it on things as well. And that's difficult. That's not easy. You're like, oh, this is super unique or whatever it might be. But sometimes that uniqueness drives into your profit. So I'm learning. I'm constantly learning. I can't just learn just clothing. I got to learn more. I'm hungry. All right, but here's what I would do. Here's what I would do if I restarted today. Now, mind you, I'm only 4 months in. So when I got out of liquidation, I moved out of my warehouse fully in February. Then it was move back home, move into storage units, figure out what the heck am I doing. So I would not say my full-time focus of static selling didn't start until April. So that's kind of where I'm at. So when I first started, I was about 2 weeks home. We ended up finding an amazing sale. It was a dig bin sale at a rescue mission, and it was all unprocessed. I went and probably spent $700, probably my last $700 to my name, on inventory. Filled up a whole carload. It was crazy. It was crazy. But did I know everything I know today about styles, about brands, about all of that? No. But I was also still running live auction whatnots. So it was completely different. You had to have volume. This is where the biggest thing, I can't stress enough, that's the name of the game. So if I was starting over, I would source less. I would be way more selective. Today's clothing trips, when I go to the bins or wherever, you wouldn't believe the difference of where I was 2 months ago, still sourcing for whatnot. My photographs have to get better. This is one of the areas that I know I have to improve. I do a hang style, but my hang style is on a room divider that is black and white. Could that be improved? Absolutely. I don't have wall space right now to figure that out in the most beautiful manner. So my husband and I are working on that. Do I do flat lay? I don't know. What do you do? Do you do hang, flat lay, a mix of both? I'm not all about full AI. I'm not all about full stock photos. But that first photo has to stop the scroll. That is the one thing I've learned. So what I'm doing right now, and I just started this last week, is I'm going through all of my old postings from when I first started, and I am revamping and repicturing. And what happened is pretty exciting. I did I did several, but one of my redos I did the item, it was a hunting jacket, and we're from Michigan. You guys, hunting stuff is hotcakes right now because opener's coming up. But it sold in 3 days after my repost with a new photo. So did that new photo stop the scroll, or was it the time of the season? Okay, so that's what I learned. Research before buying. This one's a little bit difficult for me on my little topic sheet here because, again, when I first started sourcing for static selling, I was buying anything and everything because I was doing both. I was doing static selling and I was doing live selling. So I got stuck with a lot of stuff that didn't sell on live selling that sure as heck wasn't going to sell static selling for much either. Because that's what you do. Style based, good brands that even if they're fast fashion or big box stores or mall brands, you still grab because you could sell them on whatnot for cheap. Not doing that anymore. Tracking actual profit. I can't say this is different or that I would do this differently because I did it in the high volume life as well. I tracked every single show, every single item to every single truckload. So I tracked that, but tracking actual profit from the standpoint of including what I have a really hard time including is sourcing time, travel time, that sort of thing. I don't really like to include that from the standpoint of that's kind of my sanity check. Like, just drop me off at a thrift store for a week. I wouldn't even care. But I do have to look at those things as a business owner. So one of the things that I have teetered with is the bins. I've been talking with a couple of my gals that I know through my reselling life and who are thrifters, and really talking about the quality, if you can even say that, at the bins. So they're resellers, same thing, do it from home. Most of them are marketplace, local pickups, and that sort of thing. But interesting is talking to them last week, she's like, I'm done. I said, you're done? I said, we're never done. We just switch gears. Like, what does I'm done mean? And she brought up the fact that she has no clue what's going on, but over the last year at our Ben's location, she said it has turned to garbage. And I'm like, okay, I know what she sources, I know what she sells, and she's not a clothing, connoisseur. She doesn't do a lot with clothing, but she does a lot with accessories, shoes, bags, that sort of thing, hard goods. So kind of talking to her about that, and I said, well, she's like, look at how long have you been here? And I was like, well, 2 hours. And she goes, and you have 2 things in your cart? And I'm like, yeah, well, I know. It's the day. Right? It's the day. So we kind of joked about that. Sorry, I just had an incoming call come through. But it took me 2 hours. I walked out with 2 things. And that needs to matter from the standpoint of looking at numbers, right? I'm a numbers kind of gal when it comes to this kind of stuff because I talk a lot about numbers when it comes to whatnot. I can't forget about that over in this side either. So I have to track actual profit per item. Always have, always will, but it's including all the things. All the things. Stop buying things because they're cheap. Okay? Even when I was doing high volume liquidation, I still did retail arbitrage. I still do retail arbitrage for the most part, but it got to the point when I first started that I was like, well, I need to have, my algorithm going, and I need to be able to, have stuff to post. And just because it's cheap doesn't mean that you need it. And this, again, is another topic for my overconsumption point. My last topic here of what I would do if I started it differently today is build around categories that I actually enjoy. I see a lot of talk about death piles, right? I had a death pile of men's long sleeve shirts, button ups, button downs, whatever. Why was it my death pile? Is because I didn't care. I didn't want to post them. I didn't want to steam them. I didn't want to picture them. I didn't care. Why am I doing this business, my business, for me, if it's not in every angle, basically everything that I enjoy? If I loathe it, I might as well go back to corporate life. You know what I mean? So I want to build around categories that I actually enjoy. And that is clothing, vintage pieces, home decor, all of those things. If my heart flutters when I see it, it's coming home. There's just nothing. Now, it's a little bit different when my husband goes with me, because sometimes he's over there investigating for me and bringing me stuff, and I'm like, all right, fine, I'll do it. But when I'm out on my own solo, I'm not as versatile as when I have him helping me. He makes me break out of my comfort zone just a little bit. But again, when I first started, it was everything and anything. If I could get a good deal on it, that one bin sale that I went to that was like $700, that was stuff that not necessarily did I enjoy, but maybe it'll sell. So, doesn't make my heart flutter. I ain't grabbing it anymore. Let's break into the ugly truth. The ugly truth is static selling is not easier than live selling. It's not. It's just a different kind of hard. Live selling, high volume, low profit. Static selling, low volume, potentially higher profit. But static selling requires patience. I already told you. I don't have it. I'm learning how to breathe through it, but Lord have mercy. It is a 4-year business company model that I am trying to unlearn. So that is the funniest thing. I always say it. My husband always laughs. He's always like, recovering live seller. I'm like, yes, because that is a challenge. And it creeps back into my mind a lot of going, well, all this is sitting here. All this is sitting here because, again, as a live liquidation live seller, it is turn and burn because you have another truckload coming in and or you got to get another truckload on order. So it's difficult. Patience. Slow down. Breathe. Let the right buyer find it. That's okay. That is okay. But that's the ugly truth for me. Lord. So, next question. Would I go back to live selling? No. No, and no. And here is why. I talk about it a lot. You hear me say high volume, low profit, okay? You hear me talk about tracking your profits, tracking your numbers. Make sure you're figuring all your cost of goods out along with your average sale price and stop drinking the Kool-Aid. You hear me talk about this a lot in a lot of my content. But here's why I'll go business in a minute. Here's why from a personal side. The burnout is real. The burnout is real from your lifestyle, especially if you have family, kids, husbands, dogs, whatever. It is real. You can get to the point of being so burnt out that you can't even think what the heck you're making for dinner. Now, mind you, I deal with that on a regular, but you don't even have the energy to make anything for dinner. You don't have the energy to be fully available for your children, your husband, to sit and watch a movie. You don't. It is such a mental debacle. And I'm not even talking emotional, mental, whatever it might be, that, again, when I go back to the Kool-Aid standpoint and statement of saying, oh, look at how much I did on my Whatnot show. Oh, I did a pop-up. Oh, I had... Oh, but I do this and I create my own schedule and I'm my own business owner and I... Nope. Live selling plateaus. No different than static selling. Live selling plateaus. And why I say that, for years. And if you watch my video before, it is why did you leave when you already had a business standpoint or a business structure already in play? Because it's not everything you think it is when you're looking at these numbers on social media, you guys. Now, I'm going to dive into that for a second. I matter. Okay? My time matters. I matter. My health matters. My mental health matters. And when it stops becoming exciting and you start dreading it, your answer's already in the mix of disaster. Why did I start dreading it? Is now, again, 3 Whatnot channels, 2 warehouses, 8 employees. Okay? This was a lifestyle. Live selling is a lifestyle. And when I started having challenges, as a business owner, you start having, I'll talk the mental health. Oh shoot, that show didn't go as good as we needed it to, and we have this payment coming up, or we have this payroll coming up, or this week, because it's summer slowdown, it's super slow, whatever it might be, it wasn't worth it anymore. Now, when I say we had employees and all of these things, it's not they were doing it and we weren't doing anything sitting on some beach somewhere. I was in the trenches every single day processing pallets, doing the live shows, packing, all of that. You can't have that much going on and not be involved. And it got to the point where it didn't make sense anymore. It didn't make sense. Now, going back to the plateau statement, I'm seeing it everywhere. Everywhere. I always say liquidation started with Whatnot, right? And it really wasn't. It was your cards and your collectors and the high value stuff. And then liquidation came in. Full bore liquidation hit Whatnot. And you had your top performing people, you had your top performing channels, you had, friends you made on Whatnot, or they were, you knew them through the liquidation life that got on Whatnot and they blew up and we blew up, and you had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in your show every single show, and you were killing it. Well, guess what? Guess what? That dies out. It does. You can only get so much new stuff because what's available. You get a whole new truckload and it's a rinse and repeat of the last truckload you just got because it was what was available, or because it's unmanifested and you don't know what you're getting. You get a bad truckload in. It's all over the place. And to me, that is a lot of where you guys are, or where you might be, is the thrifting side. And you might be you're probably in a completely different space, and that's okay. This is my journey, and this is where I can't switch it off from the standpoint of, well, now you're doing this, so why don't you just start live selling again? I can't. I'm so burnt out. I know what time it takes to sell, 4 to 6 hours a day, plus you still have to pack, plus you still have to prep for your show tomorrow, and all of those things. It's crazy. It's crazy. I also started watching a lot of my liquidation friends leaving Whatnot. They lost premier status. They, because their sales weren't there. Not because they had terrible customer service or terrible product, but because if you start it at, $1, $2, $3, up to $5, and you're getting opening bids, even with 600 people in your show, it's not profitable. That's not sustainable. What that's telling me is you have 600 people in your show because they love you, but they don't necessarily always need what you have. So I watched it. I'm still watching it. But for me, it was, again, the simplicity of sitting down, trying to watch a show or a movie with my family, and my mind's not even there. I am beyond exhausted. I'm already planning and figuring out what I have to do at the first start of the next day. It wasn't just my livelihood. It was 8 other livelihoods that were on my plate. That's a lot. That's a lot to carry. So, business structure. I feel like I have a fuzz on my nose. Probably. Who knows? My dog's laying down, but that doesn't mean her fuzz ain't everywhere. Hang on. Okay. So, I don't know. It's tough. It's difficult. And if you're just starting your Whatnot journey, don't use this as, any sort of, I'm trying to scare you away from it. Just do what you want to do. If an extra couple $100 a show or a couple $100 a week helps you financially, do it. Do it. I don't have it in me anymore to stand in front of a camera and try to make ends meet with items and they don't sell, and then I can't do that mental game for me anymore. So that's just kind of where I am on that one. I've since not doing live selling in the month of July, I read 3 books. How many books do you think I've read in the last 4 years? 0. And reading is one of my absolute favorite self-care moments. Absolute favorite. I love to read. Love it. So there's that. I have also made dinner, breakfast, lunch every day. What? Who am I? My laundry's caught up every day. My house is clean. These are things that suffered. They suffered because of live selling. Now, again, going back to my original note here, I don't want this to scare you away because there were a heck of a lot of positives to live selling too. The relationships I was able to make and still have because of live selling. That is something that I will never take for granted. That is why I still am a part of certain raid trains. I still will get on, once in a blue moon. I think I've only done 1 raid train since taking the month of July off, because the community is amazing. And that's what gets you, hook, line, and sinker into whatnot too. Is, you create amazing relationships, and your supporters turn into diehards, and diehards are absolutely fantastic. I have 15 people that I absolutely adore, you know, online and in real life. They're fantastic, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. So, saying that won't ever go back, it won't ever be a standard pillar in my business model going forward. Will I show up once in a while? Yes, because that's what we do. And to me, it's not only just the buyers, it's the community of sellers that you get to create as well. And again, being parts of raid trains, that's the way to do it. You create these business relationships, connections, friendships by being a part of them. And I love that part. So to say I will never go back to live selling, not as a standard pillar. Will I show up once in a while and surprise you guys? Yeah, probably. You'll see me on a raid train here and there. Okay? So there's that. My answer is a big fat no. But I support you. I want you to keep going. I want you to live your dream. Just know that if you can't, or it doesn't fit you personally, professionally, whatever, don't think you failed. Don't think you failed. I don't look at walking away from my previous life as a failure. I look at it as self-awareness. That is something that I am learning in my old age, and learning boundaries, and learning what's important, and learning restructuring, and learning rebuilding. None of that is negative. None of that is negative. I just said this to my son last night. He's in football, and he's on, he's taller than me now, but he's a defensive, offensive lineman, okay? And he was talking about how he was struggling with defense, but he was really strong in offense. And he wants to play both. I don't know what that means. I just say do your thing. But what I said to him was, you have to use where you feel you're failing or your negative feedback as your stepping stone. That's your ground to build on. That's your ground. So if you're constantly looking at the negative, you're never going to be able to go forward. Use it as your grit. Use it as your grind. Use it as your fire. And that is something that I need to look at as well from my standpoint, because I get it all the time. I get messages on Whatnot all the time. I get them on my Facebook, wherever. When are you coming back? Why aren't you coming back? We need to know. Da, da, da. They want to know. Because again, I was part of their life for 4 years, 6-7 days a week. And now I'm gone. And do you know, I am also a recovering people pleaser, which is very difficult for me. And I would say that. I got to the point of saying that, of going, I can't let them down. I can't let them down. But each time I was letting myself down, whether that was from a profit standpoint or if it was from a mental health standpoint. So my boundary is, I need to live my life for the first time in my 38 years for me. And what that looks like isn't just me gallivanting around or me sleeping in or me doing nothing. What that means is I need to do it from the standpoint of my home, my family, my health. That is a huge one. I'm only getting older and I'm starting to fall apart in more ways than one. And I got an autoimmune system disease now that came from high stress. So crazy, right? I know, it's crazy. So I have to look at it differently. And your whys have to be your whys. And why I say that is because, again, it's all over social media, and I get so angry. I get so angry about this because I see so many men, women, business owners, stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home dads that are like, I just can't get traction. I just can't do it. I'm struggling. And they're asking these big content creators about it. And they're not giving them the full support. They're not giving the full story either. If you're just a standard Joe Blow like me, okay, I'm a nobody who has bins and thrift stores to shop at. That's it. And you're a content creator out here throwing out your numbers, and you're not talking about your consignment structures. You're you know, you're not giving the real data these people are seeing and thinking they can do it too. And the moment they can't, they think they're failing. I hate that. I hate that. I don't know. Comparison is the thief of joy. It's on every bumper sticker. We all say it, but I'm a little guy rooter. Always have been, always will be. The Super Bowl. Who's going to win? Who do you want to win? I said, who's the one that's predicted not to win? That's who I want to win because they're the underdogs. I don't know. It drives me nuts. And what also, I'm not even going to get into it. Okay. That's my big thing. Don't compare yourself to other people. Do the business, your business structure, how you want to do it, not how you're seeing everybody else do it. And also, this whole thing, don't not do it because I'm burnt out of it. 2 cents. But you're here with me. It's what it is. I'm going to start doing more of these type of conversations that are going to be tough conversations because, again, I'm on the other side of the fence of it, in a different structure, in a different wheelhouse. And I don't ever want you to be afraid to drop a comment below. Tell me your situation. Tell me what you're struggling with. I'm here to listen. I will root you on every step of the way, whichever way you want to go. You got this. Don't give up on yourself and keep living your dream. Nobody else's, yours. Just live it and love it. I couldn't be happier to be on this side of the fence. I didn't feel that way 4 months ago. I didn't feel that way a year ago, but I'm never going back. Love you guys. See you on the next one.